concept is very simple. Calculation is a bit tough, but concept you can understand. Calculation they will go into a bit detail. That is the idea of marginal losses. Everybody, if I am having a portfolio of 10 lakhs, I want to have some idea of what losses I can suffer, so that I can sleep happily. See, if I know that max I can suffer 1 lakh loss, I can go to sleep because I can live with it. So that's why the concept of VAR came. Suppose VAR basically says that, say I have a 95% chance that I won't lose more than 1 lakh, say. An example. I have a 95% chance that I won't lose more than 1 lakh today. Let us be specific. So that means that, suppose if you take opposite of that, what is that? There is a 5% chance that I will lose more than 1 lakh today. This 1 lakh I have taken as an example. Depending upon my portfolio, my risk position, it can be 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. So here what you can say, just for the opposite I have done like this. This 95% I can say is my confidence level. 95% of the time I am confident that I won't lose more than 1 lakh today, given the history of market conditions. After studying so much of history of market movements, of stock returns. Okay. Now this 1 lakh is my VAR number. This is called my VAR, value at risk. I am 95% confident that I won't lose more than 1 lakh. So after doing various calculations, I have arrived at this VAR number, and I have 5% chance that I can lose more than 1 lakh. Okay, that means suppose you take a normal distribution. Why I am taking a normal distribution every time? What is my assumption? My assumption is that I am living in a normal distribution world. So exactly that is the criticism of VAR. The VAR critics argue that you are not living in a normal world. In case of financial markets, extreme events are very regular, and you are assuming a normal world and building your models, creating your equations. That is where the risk is, danger is. So, if you take a normal distribution, if this is the mean, suppose I am arriving at this 95%, this is 5%. This is my VAR number. So, to the right of the distribution is 95%. To the left is 5%. So, now I say that 95% of the time I am confident that my loss will not exceed 1. At 5%, I can vary my confidence level. I can say, I want, no sir, I want 99% confidence level. You can vary your confidence level and calculate. That is a basic concept of where. Or if you want to, that is what they express in mathematical terms, that is the probability that my portfolio value will fall more than 1 lakh is fine. It exceeds. So there are various assumptions are. And improving on that, you have what you call crash matrix. So what is the difference between where and crash matrix is, where operates only in the normal world. That's why we assume that the returns are distributed normally. What do you mean by returns are distributed normally or normal distribution? Is that everything I can describe by only two terms, mu and sigma. I assume that all my distribution is defined by mu and sigma. So that is not the case. So then some other metrics have come, crash matrix. So this where is developed by J.P. Morgan in what they call it as a risk matrix document around 1992 or so, 1994. So after that, new innovations have come. Or some innovations what they have done is, I think all of you are aware of this something called Sharpe ratio. We use Sharpe ratio to evaluate performance of a portfolio or performance of a fund manager. What Sharpe ratio says simply is that what is the excess return over risk free by standard deviation. So if you take that is risk free, but some symbol they use, suppose RF, or you can take portfolio return. Might have already studied this one, Sharpe ratio. Now they have modified this using what? As some measure of performance. What they say is that if a fund is there, daily profit and loss by daily wire number. Normal convention is we use a small a here. When small a is used, it is value at risk. When capital A is used, it becomes valuation at risk models. That is a small difference. Normally that finance people follow. Any other clarification that is other which we can discuss? I am just trying to, I think I am going more into this statistics so that. So because why we think is that many people assume that it is some story examination. It is not so. It is an MCQ, very, I think the questions, how you apply it, attack the question. They want to ask you write 20 pages on 4 types of derivatives, like futures, forwards, options and swaps. Write 10 pages means you can go on describing. One person came, this person has gone there, this person, this is not. So, that's what we will know only after the event, after the examination. What damage has happened? After you go to the exam, you will realize that the preparation needed is different. It is like, now if you are in a market crash, you will know it only after 3:30. Because I have seen, myself, human psychology is there. When you are in a very losing position, when you are in a losing position, You won't feel the pain. You maybe think traders only will know that. Because the brain releases a chemical called many medical people also know it. When you are hit with an accident, you don't feel the pain immediately. Or severely bleeding. That is that because the trading psychology experts know that. Because you will keep expecting that by 3:30 somehow I will get out of this position. It will not deteriorate further. So what happens? Suppose initially you will go into minus 10,000, minus 40,000. You will keep looking at the screen. Minus 1 lakh. Keep looking at the screen. Minus 2 lakhs. What happens? It's like what you call. You will get into because I personally experienced this and I would not because I can't go into others' mind and tell. So what happens is once the market closes, then you realize what had hit you. It is like suppose there is some small samita adage. When a frog is put into a slightly boiling water, it won't jump over. It will keep. If it is hot, it will jump over. So like that, small deteriorating position, like deer in the headlights. The deer hunters, what they will do is they will focus the light on the deer eyes. So it will be seeing still, and then they will hunt it. Traders are also similar. They will think that they will come out of that situation anyway by 3:30, and some margin call will come, or some call from spouse will come. So immediately cut your position. Come to house. Because the worst thing a trader can do is telling his position to other person. I think Shekhar knows very well, being a day trader in the market. Once you tell your position to others, you will get frightened. They will frighten you. It is psychological. Okay. What I mean to say is that frightening effect. And also, the situations work against you when you openly tell your positions. That means you are tempting what you call in trading, you are tempting the god of speculation. If you openly tell your position or you boast yourself, immediately the market takes care of you. The market knows where your weakness is. So it will come to the point where you can't bear that pain. Suppose in the last 3 days, maybe from 8,300, it keeps coming down. You won't cut here. You will think, I will bear this loss, nothing for me. Within 1 hour I can recover. Now you come here. Some 8,100. This is a one day effort for me, or 2 day effort for me. You will come here. Because you have already expressed your thing, you get some ego. That's why I am telling you is not to. Many people ask me, sir, you are such an expert. I am afraid to use that word, expert. Sir, you know so much about financial markets, and all your room is full of finance books. And please tell me what will happen tomorrow. So then I get very much frightened. No, I can trade the market with my risk, my position limits, my stop loss. But once I tell you, I become locked in that. So I will